You're listening to RevUp, a podcast about faith, family, and moto. I'm John Parkinson, president of Panic Rev Ministries.
And I'm Zach Cummins, former supercross racer. We're sitting down each week to talk with professional athletes about the unique crossroads of Christian life and action sports, to offer you a view into the motivations that drive those at the top.
Hey, welcome back to another week, another episode of RevUp. Excited for everything that's been going on with RevUp. You guys tuning in each week, making this part of your program, and seeing you guys enjoying what we're doing. I'm excited for this episode with Zach. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, really good. Well, still inside, so not great, but huge milestone this week. Graduated from college, from university. Finished up my time at Columbia. So I'm pretty stoked. We had a little mini graduation celebration last night. It was a lot of fun. Really exceeded any expectations I had in my time there. So on a high note right now for sure.
Yeah. First, congratulations. That's awesome. I'm pumped for you. Not that I worked alongside you, but I was able to walk with you a little bit through that experience and all the hard work that went through that. And you finally got your thesis finished up. It was a little bit late, but
a few days.
You got it done. You got it dialed.
Yeah, so, all 46 pages of my in-depth reading of the Gospel of Mark.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah,
but yeah, like I was telling you the other day with that, got an A on that, which then qualified me for honors. So I graduated with honors, and man, I mean, this journey's been so far beyond what I would have expected when I stepped away from moto and decided to go to school. I mean, I remember a time when I was a little bit embarrassed to tell people that I was applying to Columbia. Like I was like, oh, I'm going to go to school now. And I would just kind of list the local schools in California because Columbia is such an elite university. I thought, man, the chances of me getting in are pretty slim. Then once I did get accepted, it was like, okay, if I go, I just got to not fail and not fail the whole way through. And not setting the bar too high for myself, but the whole way through just striving for the most out of myself.
Yeah.
So now to look back at it and be recognized as, the top of the class with my graduating class has been unbelievable. Far beyond what I'm capable of. So definitely a God thing.
Yeah. I mean, for those who don't know, Columbia is one, and I know you, between the two of us, you'll brag a little bit, but Columbia is one of the top universities in the country, if not the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely.
And to earn honors from that university, any university, honestly, is
Sure.
a huge statement. But to get it from Columbia, that's pretty awesome. So
it's funny. We joke about it, like Brandon Krause, one of the guys from our Bible study, goes to ASU, which also is a legitimate school, but being that Columbia is a part of that Ivy League group that have that more prestige around them, Brandon likes to make jokes about how we have all the better facts. We must get better facts there. Costs a bit more and it's so elite. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Any university, it's amazing, but this one with the prestige that it has and the level of students that go there, it's been pretty amazing. And like I said, just beyond what I knew I was capable of or thought I was capable of. But I think through prayer, through my spiritual growth, through that being a guiding compass for me to go there, it feels like it was all out of my hands. So just happy to be a part of it.
That's awesome, man. I'm pumped for you. I'm excited for whatever the future holds and wherever this journey takes you. And I'm excited to watch what's next. So
it's brought me here, fully qualified for the RevUp Moto Faith podcast.
Absolutely. Huge future.
What are you up to? How has your week been?
Another good week. Again, just going out. The Asher, my youngest, races BMX, been able to get back to the BMX track a little bit, opening up a little. We raced last night for the first time in a couple months, but we've been able to get back to the BMX track and do that type of deal. And then the older boys been going back and forth with their baseball teams and trying to get back together to incorporate a little practice, even though we won't be playing games or anything in who knows what amount of time. So, again, trying to work out a little bit.
I'm not doing that. I'm staying away from that game. How was turnout at the BMX race? Because I mean, we've seen some racing happening, and people have been really excited about racing recently.
Yeah, and it was here in California.
Yeah,
we're still in this weird limbo, lockdown, not lockdown. People
phase 2, I think we're starting to enter now.
Yeah. So, but for a local BMX race, it was, the turnouts have been really good. It's only been 2 weeks that they started racing. And for a local race, there's over 100 kids, which is big for a local race.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see. And hopefully there's more opening it up, right? Like, wherever you lie on the shutdown, in my opinion, BMX motocross, you're pretty distanced in itself, and it's fairly safe as far as racing and stuff.
Still no moto races out here though, right?
Still no motor races here, but across the country we're kicking off, right? I mean, we talked last week about GNCCs. I saw that they had a record number of entries at like 1,800 entries. Matt Walker also had a quote unquote local event that he runs every year at Silver Dollar Motocross Park, and they had a crazy amount of entries between the 2 days of about 2,000 entries.
That's out in Georgia, right?
That is in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just starting to open up.
So pretty crazy to see the entries like it is, but you know, in the sport that everybody wants to get back to normal, honestly, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so to see these big entries is kind of shocking, because I know people in Texas and stuff drove over to Matt's to go race. So people are traveling to get to these events as well.
It is. It's a little glimpse of normalcy for sure, right? I mean, especially I think so many people that ride moto and race moto get that idea of it's an escape and you're in your own world when you're on the track already. Getting back to racing and having that whole environment is huge. And there's that part of like, we're getting ready for Loretta's and regionals. I think their schedule's out now. So guys, really no one's been racing. And the importance of gate time is crazy when you're getting to the more elite races, just having gate drops. So it makes sense if you were out on the East Coast at all that you would haul up and head out just to get more gate time when no one else can. I mean, 2,000 dudes, like you said, it's quote local race, but I imagine there was a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I know, like Daxon Benedict, he was there. That's from North Carolina, South Carolina, that area. Dude, there's a lot of dudes that traveled to Georgia to go do this race, and that's big. You know, you mentioned Loretta's. They did announce their regionals. Whether, who knows, they could get pushed back too, though. You know what I mean? Like, I know they're scheduled.
Sure.
But I believe Paula's one of those tracks. And,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Paula's one of those tracks, and it's later in June. But at the same time, who really knows what's going to happen in California?
Yeah, I mean, we've had our some of our stay-home orders or shelter-in-place orders, whatever they're called right now, have been extended through June already. So, like, that seems hopeful. But is it am I mistaken in thinking that Paula's still on the Indian resort or Indian land, right? So I don't know if they're under the same jurisdiction as far as whether or not they can open up. And I mean, I hate to put that into play. Obviously, if it's decided that for the safety of the society, we should not be doing it, hopefully everyone honors that. But it seems like they might have wiggle room there to just go ahead and go for it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too.
Yeah.
But it does seem like they have been very, very proactive in policing the people at the track during practice and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
With mask and distancing and all that kind of stuff. It honestly seems like Paula or Fox Raceway has been one of the tracks here in California that is way more strict with those implementing those rules. So I don't really know what that's going to look like.
I honestly, I agree with that approach a lot. I know there are people go both ways. You and I go back and forth on it. I was talking to you earlier. I had a phone call just after my kind of little mini graduation celebration last night. I was on the phone with Mitch Payton, and we were talking about Supercross starting back up, and he was talking about some restaurants opening in Norco, out where Pro Circuit is and where he's located. And just that idea of, I mean, he and I see eye to eye on it, that we want to see things open up as quickly and as safely as they can. And with that, let's all be ready to give a little bit, right? Let's put on the mask when we go to the track. just so we can keep the track open, right? So that we can keep moving, whether we personally believe in it or not, put that aside. And hey, man, if you use social distancing guidelines, if you go with all these practices, the chances of things opening up and staying open are increased by at least a small fraction at the very least. So why not? I'm glad to see that Paula or Fox Raceway is making that effort, because the chances of moto tracks staying open are a lot higher if they don't have any cases.
Sure.
And if they let dudes just run free all of a sudden, it'll be awesome for a week, and then one dude gets sick and there's no more moto.
Yeah, I'm one that is not wearing a mask and for whatever, right? Like,
sure,
you could be for or against me.
Yeah.
But as far as like the dirt bike track, if that was a rule that I needed to follow to go there, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
My thing is there's more restaurants that want my business. Just because I'm not wearing a mask, I'll go next door. That's fine with me. I'm not going to throw a big stink. There's more grocery stores. You want me to wear a mask? Cool. I'm not going to throw a stink here. Yeah. I'm just going to go spend my money elsewhere. With things that I care about. I care about my family eating and stuff, but
yeah,
like a dirt bike track or these little things, BMX track. If those are things that we have to do, that's what we have to do. And I'm going to respect that and not throw a stink with those people, and respect those orders for the greater good of honestly the sport rather than others around me.
Sure. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, you and I could go back and forth on it, right? And I
Yeah.
don't know that anyone wants to hear us go back and forth on it. But like you say, for the sport or for the economy or whatever lens you want to look at it, right? Like, we do all realize that so many places are suffering for these reasons. And yeah, just doing their part. It's good to see that they are policing it or encouraging it. And as we move back into Supercross starting back up, some really strict stuff there, some weird stuff, not as strict, kind of strange. I mean, I guess to be specific, right? We're going racing in Salt Lake City, May 31st, and it's as confirmed as it can be. It's only a week and a half away, so it seems pretty confident that it'll happen. But we have 3 straight weeks of racing, of Wednesday, Sunday.
Yep, Sunday, Wednesday. They're going to start on the 31st, which is Sunday. But yes, I'm sorry to correct you there.
No, it's fair. And yes, we have 3 days and then 4 days between races. So we have the entire sport just basically moving to Utah now to go racing. It'll be exciting from a spectator point of view, but really difficult for those guys to manage.
Yeah, man. Like, there's so many things out there that I don't think many people have thought about, like, especially as a fan. It's like, sweet, we're going racing, right? But there's so many situations that are kind of the unknown, right? Like, you can't leave the state. You can't, like, if you're going racing, you have to, for the next month, stay in Utah. So that means if I'm not a part of a team, I have to go get a hotel or a house or something, if I don't have a trailer, motorhome, whatever, to stay in. That's a lot of money. And because I can't come back and forth, and it's not feasible to come back and forth anyways when I'm racing Sunday and Wednesday, right? Like, I'm going to travel a day, got to travel another day. I'm racing the next day. It's not feasible. But
and that's that back and forth. The back and forth you're talking about. You're saying a hypothetical back and forth to California,
right? It's not even
let alone an East Coast guy.
Sure.
There's no choice. That dude's not getting on a flight 4 times a week.
Yeah,
certainly not right now.
Yeah, and so living situations, questionable. What are we doing?
Are we talking about the potential for kind of like team houses though, right? I had heard mention of that certain teams are going in on a big Airbnb essentially for the 3 weeks and just piling guys in.
Yeah. Talking to a couple guys on teams, they're either staying in their motorhome, or the team's getting a house, and the whole team, that includes mechanics, riders, wives, girlfriends, whatever that looks like.
Hopefully as minimal as possible, right? Like, hopefully minimizing as much riffraff as you could get.
You would hope, but that's what I said. I said, man, we're going to have party central every night or what in this house of 20 dudes.
Yeah. And not to qualify any wives or girlfriends as non-essential parts of racing. I mean, I know they very much can be, so I don't mean to put anyone down as riffraff, But you really gotta, I mean, you gotta think of the essential members that need to be there, because like we're talking about, there's testing that's going to be happening. And dude, I mean, if one person tests positive in that house, you got 16 dudes, your whole team or whatever, 15, 10, whatever it is, your whole team is there. One guy tests positive. And I imagine the whole team can't show up to the race next weekend. So,
well, they would all have to get tested too, right? Like,
but like, as far as guidelines right now, if you're in close contact with someone that has been exposed or has tested positive, you kind of have to limit yourself immediately, because you don't necessarily test positive right away.
Yeah,
you could have that 3 day of being contagious and not.
That's where it goes big red flags. And I haven't read all the paperwork. But just because, let's just say you and I were on the same team, you test positive, I tested negative.
Okay.
Right? Like, yeah, we were hanging out, but I still tested negative. But
we've still been, that test doesn't come back until tomorrow. And we've been hanging out the whole time in between too.
Yeah, but we've been hanging out.
You could have
the whole time. We've been hanging out the whole time before that, training together, riding together, everything. So if you tested positive and I tested negative, it shouldn't be a problem. I tested negative. We've been hanging out before this too.
I disagree, because
that's where this is going to go, right?
Well, like, but I think the guidelines, I think the legal system, I think will land on my side of it, in the sense of, if you and I are together, I test positive at 9 a.m., they find out at 9 a.m. the next day, and you and I have been together that whole day in between, there's no way for them to have any degree of certainty that you didn't catch it, that I didn't cough on you in the day in between.
Absolutely.
Right?
But
so then they got to test
still
you.
Came back negative
from before.
And now
it's changed. Your status has changed, though.
Right. And now
you got to get tested again.
I'm going to miss round 1.
Exactly. You got to get tested again. And that's another 2 day or another day. You very well missed the next race. Could we have a potential title guy, or any guy really, that then misses that race? When that happens also, do we then have shortened gates? And what if we have 15 dudes line up?
Yeah. There's a lot of question marks in my opinion. And that's just tough, right? We know salaries have been cut. We know, people aren't getting paid what their contracts say they're getting paid. And again, we know that teams aren't getting paid what sponsors have said they're going to pay them, right? So it's equal, right? Like, whether it's right, wrong. But when we go racing, is my pay coming back? Am I getting my bonuses? A friend is about to point out, or what if, 2 rounds into it, I test positive and I'm already pointed out, right? Like, what happens there?
Yeah, you don't
There's
get to finish
so
the last
many
season
things.
In the class, yeah.
Yeah, and I get the boot. There's so many things that could go wrong with what they're doing, that have, honestly, these guys' careers in their hands.
It's difficult. On the team side, I mean, I don't even know really how to speak to it, right? Like, I get it. Businesses are struggling. And if you look at the smaller companies within the sport is starving right now, and therefore they don't have the money. So I get them having to, whether they're using clauses of, hey, you didn't complete X amount of races in X amount of time, and therefore we don't have to front all of this money, or whatever it is. Because I do think that's the situation with kind of the way they're running the races, right? Is for Feld itself to get the TV package money.
Yeah.
They got to burn out this many races to get that money. But so the switching to that side of it, Feld's payout, as small as it is of a contribution to the racers, and as a former racer, like, I was never happy with it, and I've always kind of been one to talk about that pretty openly. Not that I'm bitter at the sport. It was a sport that I signed up for. I knew what I was getting into. I do think there should be more compensation from that side of things. Feld recently put out that they're cutting, I think the 450 class is getting cut pay from them by 22.5%, lights class by 17%.
17. Yep.
And if I remember correctly, they cited the lack of ticket sales as the reason for that. Hey, we aren't getting any ticket sales, therefore you guys get less money. My question is then, when ticket sales go back up, do guys get more money? Are we going to agree now that ticket sales percentage-wise goes to the riders? Because I think a privateer would be perfectly happy to take his cut of his, whatever it is, $500 that he gets for competing in the event, if he knows that next year when he lines up, if there's 60,000 dudes there, he gets a few grand.
Yeah.
If we're not doing that, though, how do you justify cutting that dude's pay?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. And I understand on all aspects of the whole situation, because Feld isn't making money that they would if they're able to have fans, right? Like, I get it, man. Like, that's a big part of their income.
Yep.
At the same time, like, we have privateer guys that they're in the lights class. I think just for making a night show, right? Not making the main event, it's like $256 for a payout. Now you're cutting that by 17%, right? Like I can't even pay for my hotel room anymore.
Yeah, where's that dude
for the
staying?
night?
That dude's sleeping on a couch somewhere for 4 weeks or 3 weeks to try to be at the race, and he's getting scraps.
Right. And food and everything, right? Like, and I'm sure if the big guys are getting cut in pay, these guys, money guys, probably went away. At least a little bit. If
the small privateer sponsors you're talking about when you say money guys, the auto dealer that's helping some dude out is like, hey man, sorry, car sales are down. You're on your own now.
Yeah. So like it's a difficult place to be, and I don't think anybody has answers. I think the majority of the industry are pumped that they're just going racing, and talking to like the riders that I'm close with, I'm like, listen, I understand that you're pumped to go racing and go do your job, but there's so many things that you're not thinking of that you need to at least put thought in and ask a few questions to set yourself up, not for right now, but for next year. If you do point out of the lights class, where are we going to go? How is that going to look? And you don't win a championship, or like I said, you test positive after 3 rounds when you earn enough points, and now you don't even have an option or opportunity to win a title at this point. Like there's a lot out there.
I think there's an interesting parallel in, someone like yourself, and I know kind of your views on over, and a lot of people share them. I'm not singling you out in this, and I think it's perfectly valid that the situation we're in with the pandemic and the government right now and infringing on certain freedoms. I mean, I was watching the news that in California, I think they're hiring 13,000 new people to be contact tracers, right? A lot of people are saying, hey, that's not very constitutional for you guys to track who we're engaging with and where we're going throughout the day. Other people are saying, hey, it's extenuating circumstances. Let's just embrace whatever we have to do so that we can move on at the fullest extent of losing certain freedoms. On a much smaller scale, looking at supercross and saying, hey, let's just get back to racing, even if that means cutting our pay and having all of these stipulations. We just want to get back to racing. Let's just let it happen. Looking at it on a small scale like that, it's like, hey man, you guys kind of might need to stand up for yourselves right now. And I don't know if that's forming a union. Yeah. I know that's a really taboo word. I know when I was racing, I definitely never said the word. But there is a time, and I'm not for kicking someone when they're down, because I know Feld just recently is now bouncing back from like a 90% layoff, right? They're in a hard place, and you want to see the sport survive. You want to see the sport go forward. Does the sport go forward kind of taking more away from the rider at this point, though? Or can we use this as an opportunity to restructure and to have it be more beneficial for everyone? Because if we get guys more into it, like we could see a lot more positives come out of that, of the expansion of riders and their presence beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, man, like whether I'm for or against unions, because I'm not totally pro union at all. But in this situation, right, that's where a union will go fight for you, or the guys, right?
And a union may not be what's necessary. It's just the word that I'm familiar with to kind of get that
just
idea
a stand, right?
Some sort of a body working together, someone to speak as one voice, a unity, I guess, just some sort of union, unity, whatever.
Because what's to hold Feld back from going, dude, they went racing with this 22.5% cut. Let's just roll that into next year, right? Yeah. Let's make up what we usually pay out. Let's make up for that next year, or this in 2021. Let's make up by that by keeping the pay structure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like that there's nothing holding them to any type of level of accountability, and they can do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know the numbers because I never actually was the one responsible for it. But thinking now of the cut pay, right? 40 guys go, they have to pay for their own living to be in that state, which is totally understandable. They wouldn't pay for housing, but it is required that you stay within the state throughout the whole time. Otherwise, you're not really eligible to race the next race due to the testing restriction they have. So you have to stay there. They are still charging, to my knowledge, an entry fee for the race. Only 40 guys are able to come. Only 40 guys are able to race. All those dudes have to pay what I'm assuming is a few $100s to race at the professional level. And I'm not trying to sit here and dog our sport or rip it apart. I just wish that there was more of a compassion for the little guy from the entity that's able to do it, right?
Yeah.
Feld, I
And
want
that
to
was
see
what,
Feld rebound, but Feld is big. They got Disney on
yeah.
Ice. They got bigger stuff.
Yeah.
They can.
That was one of my questions. Okay, you're cutting our pay. Can we like cut our entry in half? Like,
Yeah.
you're not making money on my entry necessarily, right?
And what was the point of my entry fee? Like, what did I get from you? Did I get exposure to the mass? I don't get that anymore. If that was something you were advertising, you can't advertise it now.
So you might know this. Does that entry fee actually go to Feld, or is that an AMA fee?
I don't know. That was what I was kind of prefacing before. I being honest, I never paid it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was always a team thing. And I think for most guys, it's a team thing. But I do know privateers are paying that out of pocket.
Absolutely.
I was fortunate enough to never be in that position, so I don't know exactly what it is. And it could be AMA for part of their fee. Either way, both of these sanctioning bodies are getting plenty of money from the other channels, right? And even if they're not, like, I don't know that that's the best approach to advancing the sport.
And again, yeah, absolutely. We're taking a pay cut. You need to take your account too, right? Yeah. Like, I don't want to smash on people at all. Feld is saying, hey, we're doing this for you and the fans, racers and the fans. Let's call it what it is. You that there could be truth to that, but there's most definitely finances on their side where it's like they're getting a cut, right, for the TV package. If they weren't, they wouldn't be going racing. And
the 3-week kind of rushed schedule, I think, exposes that.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are really going to struggle. I think the kind of unsung heroes of the program are going to be the track workers.
Absolutely.
I think it's still Randy Meninga and his crew. I think it's the Dirtworks crew.
Yep.
Those dudes usually fly out right after they're done tearing down the track and have a whole week of building the next track.
Yeah.
Now they have to do it in one venue every 3 days.
Yeah.
For 3 weeks straight.
I listened to the little press conference that came out yesterday or the day before from Feld. And they are going to redo the surfaces and change up the track a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a total rebuild every single week. They might switch up this obstacle, but the layout's going to be practically the same.
Something I had heard when talking to Mitch, and it may have changed, but was something that I think maybe he even had suggested from the context of our conversation, but that they are going to do some new layouts at certain points. They'll do full reconstructions, but a couple of those weeks, they might just do the work to turn things around. Kind of like how they did at Monster Cup. They built a track that could go both ways. Building it to where there are clear faces and landings, but a design that you can make those faces and landings invert, and the track can just race the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which I think would be awesome, right? Because you really can have totally different racing just by flipping a track. Whoop section that's right out of a turn that then has a small straightaway after it. You flip that around, it turns into a high-speed whoop section going the other way. Sort of thing would make a difference and would still be good. But yeah, those guys are definitely going to have their work cut out for them, and who knows what they're doing with cutting them back too. Like, it's hard times, and everyone has to do their part to get the economy going and to get things back to normal. But you also want to see that fairness remain. You hate to see somebody getting cut worse than they need to, because we're all in it together.
Absolutely. I think most of the people tuning in aren't listening necessarily for Zach and myself. But maybe I hope we throw in a little bit, but I think majority of them are tuning in for our guests. So at this time, Ryan Sipes is our guest today. He's going to shine a little bit of light on Supercross and what's going on, and his thoughts on coming back to racing. So right now we're going to welcome Ryan. Here we are. Ryan, what's going on, man? How are you, sir?
Doing all right, man. Just got done eating some food with the family and hanging out.
Right on. Looking scruffy, dude. How long you been on that sucker?
Quarantine beard. Not it's I don't
couple days.
Fast. No, it's probably been maybe like a week and a half. So
that's pretty solid.
Yeah. But it's all patchy over here, so I'm trying to let it grow like at least enough to cover that up. But it's tough.
That's funny.
I've tried a few times. I got a spot here that just doesn't grow in at all. It just stays bald constant. So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Cool. Zach and I have been talking a little bit about racing coming back, Supercross coming back. Number one, are we going to see Ryan Sipes line up? You're like 29th in points. You got Daytona under your belt. You going to Salt Lake City?
No, sir. I was a little bit worried. I called Red Bull whenever I heard the news that they were going to come back and said, "Hey, do you want me to do any?" Just crossing my fingers that he would say no. And he said, "No, don't worry about it." I said, "Perfect," because one's enough for me at this point in my life. So,
yeah. Did you get a phone call though, or not at all?
yeah, I think they called everybody that had points and said, "Hey, do you plan on showing up?" And I said, "Probably not," but they had to call everybody. I guess they had to clear it with all the state officials and all that good stuff. So they had to kind of have a pre-entry list.
For sure. How much do you know about them getting back to racing? Like, do you know what's going on with everything?
I mean, just they said, 7 rounds in 3 weeks or something, Sundays and Wednesdays. And, I mean, I think it's going to be kind of wham bam. Like, I think it's going to be tough on teams. It's maybe not too bad because they don't have to travel, but at the same time, they have to carry enough parts and stuff for 7 races. That's tough. And then mechanics basically won't get to go home, I'm thinking.
Right.
So
they're not supposed to leave the state or whatever.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about is that the ruling is if you leave the state, you have to then get retested. And the test, they said, takes like 24 hours, and there's only 3 days between races. So really, even racers or team owners or anybody, if you leave Utah, you're not really ready for the next round.
Yeah, no, that's tough.
Yeah. On a racer side, how much of a difference would racing Sunday, Wednesday? Like, that's gnarly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to guess, it would be, of course, it's going to be a lot different than your normal race week, race, get home, have 1 rest day, and then get back at it, train 3 or maybe 4 days, fly out. I bet the guys are going to take their bicycles and they'll ride once in between races. That's all they're going to do because there's not enough time to recover doing more. That one ride that they do will be part of their recovery. Yeah. If they race on a Sunday, they'll probably chill Monday. They might go on a short bike ride, maybe a little one Tuesday, but they're going to race Wednesday. So, and then if they race Wednesday, it's kind of the same thing till Sunday. It's going to be it'll be cool. And they're all smart. They all have, genius trainers and all that stuff. So they'll figure it out. But I'm interested to see some of the stories. And then you got to, try to figure out whether they're true or it's just an excuse. But, the guys that go, I trained too much, or the elevation did this, or I couldn't recover, or whatever. Like I said, they're all smart. They're going to figure it out, but that's going to be a whole nother angle to it that, the fitness part in the journalism, moto journalism it's there, but it's, it's not really gone too far in depth. But I think that'll be a storyline coming out of this thing is, they couldn't recover. And the riders, some will probably complain like, this was terrible. But it's like, guys, we got to go back racing. Let's just make it happen.
It's tough. I mean, it definitely is less than ideal. But like you said, I mean, we're as racers, it's what we do. Got to get back to it. It's gnarly. It's going to be hard on guys that, I mean, I imagine like an Eli Tomac, someone that's comfortable at altitude is going to be stoked on, how high it is up there. But then like the inverse, Anderson, I know has struggled at altitude in the past. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how guys prevail over that, or like you said, just use it as a kind of escape of hey man, I wasn't cut out for this to begin with. I got shafted, and there goes the whole season.
Yeah, no, there'll be plenty of storylines, I'm sure.
and like even within that, right? The Sunday, Wednesday racing is in itself is a lot different. Not really what I signed up for when the season started. Not really. Yeah, just a total wrench into the program. And then there's this little thing called money, that salaries have been cut. Now you're expecting me to race twice a week. Are there salaries coming back when we go racing? Because all the sponsors' money probably isn't coming all the way back because they're in bad situations. Like, there's so many question marks. Like, what is happening here? How are we doing this? And I've spoken to a couple racers that plan on lining up, and they still don't know from their team what's going to be going on. Like, there's so many question marks. I don't know how to go racing and with so many question marks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with this whole deal it's just insane what has kind of gone on and what this has led to, and it's messed up everybody. It's not like a couple people got affected. It's been everybody, down to from the richest to the poorest, from the most popular to the least. Everybody is affected. So it's crazy, man. And the thing is, it'll never go back to normal. Like normal won't be what it used to be.
Yeah. Even if it is somewhat normal, my contract, that the next contract, as far as I sign, like for you with Red Bull or whoever, right? Like, it's going to be different because this pandemic is going to be put in place. And it's like, hey, look, if any situations come about that we literally just can't race, you're not getting paid at that point. Like, there's going to be those types of deals in contracts now.
Instead of an injury clause, a pandemic clause.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
funny.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but I mean, it's tough, and it's like you said, it affects everybody, and it's just tough to grapple with right now, right? Like figuring it out. What for you? I mean, do you see, again? I mean, leading into it with that unknown. Do you know what your next scheduled event is? Like what the next race is? There was that Moto Fiteklub last week or about a week ago now. It was pretty awesome. We watched that. But do you know what's next for you?
Cool. Glad you guys liked that race. It was fun for me. That was thrown together in like a week and a half. And for me, it was like, oh, I get to go racing. Cool. Let's go. You didn't have to ask me twice. And I've got another one coming up this weekend. It's kind of the same thing. I think I'm gonna go do a flat track race, and it's gonna be big. There's gonna be all the factory teams will be there. It's not a American flat track sanctioned deal, but it's gonna be a big race. So I'm kind of just trying to capitalize on some of that stuff, since I am like, I don't have a contract that says I have to do this race.
Yeah, sure.
Red Bull's cool. They're like, oh, you want to do that? Cool. And then they'll call me and say, hey, why don't you go do this? And I kind of have to say, okay. But they're not, I mean, it's not like that. Like I could say, no, I absolutely don't want to. And they'd say, that's fine.
Yeah.
They're like the best people to work with, but I'm free to do whatever I want. So I'm in a little bit different situation with just being able to go, yeah, I'll try that. Why not?
Yeah. With any GNCCs, like they started racing this past weekend, anything like that on your schedule, anything you plan on doing, or is that kind of just something that fly by the seat of your pant type deal?
Yeah. Before all this happened, I was supposed to do one in July, maybe June or July. And that, I don't know what they're going to do now, obviously, but there's one in South Carolina next weekend that we've kicked around, maybe the idea of going and doing that. I'm not ready for it. So I don't know that I want to throw myself in there and just torture myself for 3 hours when I'm probably only good for about 2 right now. But I mean, I don't know. You can, I don't know. We'll see. I might show up.
Like, man, knowing you for so many years and knowing your background and just being a good dude all around, but also being super competitive in supercross, motocross. How did your current situation come about? How did you get from competing for race wins in supercross, motocross, or getting wins to just being a dude that wants to go ride his dirt bike and doing so many different disciplines on your bike? Like, how does that come about? Is that just like hillbilly type deal that Ryan thought of?
Pretty much, yeah. Actually, I'll tell you the shortest version I can. 2017, I was having a real up and down year. I had like a podium and then a couple bad races, and then a podium, a couple bad races. And I had a string of maybe 3 or 4 that were pretty bad. And then they were doing that 125 dream race stuff. It was, I think maybe the first year that they did more than just Washougal.
Yeah.
They had 6 rounds or 3 rounds or whatever. I think it was the 3 rounds. And they did it in, they were going to do it in Colorado at Lakewood. And so I called the team owner, that GNCC team that I was riding for. And I'm like, hey, can I go do this? Can I borrow one of your 125s? And he goes, he's a super cool dude, Scott Kiger from Pennsylvania. He said, this is exactly what you need. This will be fun. Go have some fun. This might get you back on track. Okay, so I did it like super last minute. Had a buddy haul the bike out. Like, it didn't run quite right up there, all this stuff. But I went out and won the race, and I should have. The guy that got second was, he wasn't at my level of riding. So he was, probably an A rider, young A rider, whatever. So I should have won. But I got massive amounts of press from it. And I go, that's cool. That was fun. Won the race. Got a bunch of pictures in Racer X. I got interviewed, and this and that and this and that. That's cool. Well, like 3 weeks later, I won a GNCC. And I don't know what you know about GNCC, but that's infinitely harder than winning a 125 race.
Yeah, especially with Caleb.
Dude, it takes, he got second. It takes years and years of training and like just living in the woods, basically. Like, you're on your motorcycle every day in the woods to try to learn this stuff. And I finally did it, and I got like a third of the press that I did for a 125 race. And I go, I'm doing it all wrong here, guys.
Yeah, light bulb moment right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I am doing it all wrong. I said, what if I just, instead of getting, it's great to win GNCCs, but it's really hard. So, and if you do, you've got maybe 50, 60% of the GNCC audience that keeps up with me, keeps up with what I'm doing, and likes all my stuff. Well, what if I could just go after 20% of every audience of two-stroke, of moto, of supercross, GNCC, and all? So I did 1 year of that with in 2018. And then about halfway through the year, Red Bull called and said, we think your idea is pretty cool. Why don't you come ride for us? And so that's kind of how it ended up. But it was kind of a wild idea. And to be honest, most of the sponsors, when I first told them, they're like, wait, you can't win a championship because you're not doing all of any series? I said, yeah, but you guys listen, though, this is the, the idea behind it. Well, okay, I guess. We'll see how it goes. They really didn't believe in it. But then, 2018 was a good year for me. I won a ton of sprint enduros. I won the flat track race, had a bunch of cool stuff happen. So about halfway through the year, Red Bull's like, yeah, let's get you over here with us. So it's been really good, since I've moved over there.
That's awesome.
That's something I think Red Bull is uniquely just good at having an eye for. just in the last few weeks, I know some people that do marketing with 4-wheel stuff with Red Bull and gearing up for some of that iRacing that they've been doing and having athletes from a bunch of different sports come into it. And that idea that you can have someone, cross discipline and like yourself within 2-wheel, right? Going from sport to sport, not only does it build a brand around you as an individual, you also then carry people over to each sport and help grow their audience of their athletes that are one-dimensional. You bring flat track guys over to become Ken Roczen fans as well because they like you, they like Red Bull. I think Red Bull is uniquely equipped for that, and like it's been exciting as a spectator to see you take on that role because prior to that we had, Travis was kind of the only one doing that in 2-wheel, and as Travis moved more into the car stuff and the freestyle stuff, we lost that on the racing side. It's really exciting to see somebody like yourself bounce around like that.
Cool. Thanks, man. That was the other kind of part of the idea. And I think, not to be all, trying to save the sport, but I think it's good for the sport.
Absolutely.
Because you get crossover, you get flat track fans watching supercross, you get, GNCC fans watching hill climb, whatever it is, because they're fans of you, not just the sport. Because normally you would never get anybody that's not a flat track fan to watch flat track. Yeah. But if you got a supercross guy going in there, now it's like, oh man, I might check this out because let's see how my boy does. So anyway, it's been cool.
To be honest, that's the way I am, right? Like only reason I would ever watch flat track is a race that you're at, right? But
Yeah.
it gets me to watch it and go, oh man, that was cooler than I thought it was going to be, right? Like just dudes making left turns don't sound cool. I don't watch NASCAR for a reason. Motor cooler than cars, in my opinion. We might lose some fans on that statement, but like that is 100% fact, and I think that's super good for the sport and manufacturers, everything across the board, right?
Yeah.
Like because you're getting new fans on different platforms of motorsports.
Yeah.
With that, like with the mold of Ryan Sipes, I know like the first couple years, maybe only the first year of like going full off-road, like you were going to ISDE, not part of the trophy team, and just getting your feet wet with all of that kind of stuff. And like, how did that go for you? Going to the, like, I've been to ISDE twice and know what it takes to go out there financially and like the effort that you put in, and you weren't part of the trophy team. You're just part of the whatever support team or whatever it is. What motivated you to go do that?
So Taylor, I became friends with Taylor Robert in about maybe 2008, 2009. I was working with Steve Hatch. Taylor, he worked with Taylor, he worked with me, and me and Taylor get along really well. We're both, I mean, he's super good on a dirt bike, and he would be awesome at what I'm doing. Like he would be one of the guys that would be able to adapt and figure it out.
Yeah. And
so we kind of hit it off that way, riding off-road trials. He rode I built a supercross track at his mom and dad's house. He was on that on his, desert bike. Like, so we just became good buddies. And then when, when we were, the team manager for the ISDE team was starting to look at Moto for, bringing guys from Moto for ISDE, because you have to have more technical skill for ISDE than what you do for Moto. But most of the really good Moto guys would still have that skill. Like it would take them a while to figure it out, but what they have over getting a traditional GNCC or enduro guy is that raw speed.
Yeah.
Like that ability to twist it and go, I'm on the edge and I don't care. Because you don't do that in GNCC, not as much. In Moto, you do it. That's all you do, And so anyway, they were looking at Moto, and Taylor mentioned my name to Auntie Callanan. It was is the team manager, and so he called me up, and at first he was wanting me on the trophy team. Then they ended up going with Zach Osborne because he'd done a few GNCCs. At that point, I hadn't done any GNCCs, and I was just fresh out of Supercross, and so he put me on the club team. I still had to raise my own money and everything, but they helped some. And went over there and did pretty good. I got second in the club division. Should have won it. Had some stupid rookie mistakes. That's the things you have to learn, And then the next year, my son was going to be born the week I was supposed to be gone in Argentina, and I said I didn't want to do that. Yeah. Then the following year, I got put on the trophy team and won the thing. So, yeah, it was that's one of my favorite types of racing, man. That's one of the coolest events for sure.
Yeah, ISD is really cool. A lot of people just think it's probably like a GNCC, and it's completely different. It's a sprint enduro. You're doing the test and all that kind of stuff. You got a trail ride in between, and it's a cool event. Mentioning winning it, you're the only American to win one of those things, man. Like,
no, Taylor won it the next year. I was just the first. Yeah, I was the first.
Okay, well, you even beat Taylor, right? Taylor's been there how many years? It was your second year. Like, you still got that.
That's
little probe.
About 2 weeks ago, we were talking to Zach Osborne, and John was getting ready to say that he was the only guy to have been on the ISDE team and the Donations team. But then you with Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico.
Bump that stat out too.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. That's funny.
But real quick, we're about 30 minutes into our show.
Yep.
And I want to touch on every week we get with our guests, and we dive in with a devotional dig where our guest goes over their favorite Bible verse. Would you be willing to go into that with us for a little bit?
Absolutely.
So you picked Joshua 1:9 as your Bible verse.
Mm-hmm.
Can you quote that or not exactly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Dang.
I wouldn't call it my favorite if I couldn't quote it.
Perfect. Let's go.
I appreciate that.
Haven't I commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
What does that verse mean to you, and what makes that your favorite verse?
Man, it kind of gives me chills just thinking about it. But I used to get hurt a lot. I've had times where I raced 3 times in a year, and that wasn't one injury, that was like 4, because I'd come back, race once, and get hurt again. And there was I had a lot of time. It was just tough, man, to go, I know what I'm capable of. I know I can win or I can be up there, and then you just get hurt and you sit there for 3 months and you go, I don't know about this. I don't think I wanted, this is tough. But then I was pretty, I think I went to one of the FCA camps or something, and that was like the theme verse. And I go, well, that's me. That's it for me. And I go, why would I ever give up? God's never given up on me. It's not, this is all just part of the plan. And like, if he is still going to put me in positions to race motorcycles, I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to give in. I'm never going to say I quit, because I've been given this talent for a reason. I've been given the opportunities that I have for a reason. And so it'd be super selfish and really dumb of me to not go for it and give it every single thing that I have. And for whatever reason now, I got hurt a ton when I was young. Man, it's been really good in the past few years. And it's like, maybe I'm getting older and smarter. Or maybe, I put in my time and I didn't give up, and now it's coming around. So I don't know, that to me, that just, it just like, never give up, like be brave, like send it, go for it. Don't be, it's a verse it's one in Timothy, 1 Timothy, that God didn't give us a spirit of timidity. Yeah. That one's awesome too. That's one of my favorites. Like, no, go for it. Don't be scared. Don't be, and I think that's kind of one of my strengths is I'm not scared. I'm not scared to go for it. Like, oh, I got this opportunity. Yeah, let's go.
Let's run it.
Yeah. I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I used to be that way, but I'm not anymore. I'm going to go for it. And it doesn't always work out, but, I don't know. I think I get a lot of power from reading those verses there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, go ahead, John.
That's honestly one of my verses that I use with my kids quite often. Just man, didn't I command you be strong or be bold and courageous, right? Strong and courageous. Stop being a pansy. Trust God, right? Trust God. God has commanded us to be strong and courageous and put our trust in him rather than trust in our own ability. Yeah, he's given us ability and we can believe in ourselves, but trust in God. And within that, be strong, be courageous in that, and he's going to take care of you. Might not look like the way that we want it to be. I'm sure yourself want to win multiple championships going in as a young kid going, yeah, I got this. That wasn't God's calling, right? Like, I'm sure you have more touches on people's lives today than you did going through supercross to motocross, right? And without your perseverance and that mentality of being strong and courageous in your faith, this opportunity might not be in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you touched on it might not look like what you think it should or what you dreamed of. Well, not only that, the timing might not be what you thought. It might happen. It might just not be right now. You want it to happen right now. We all want to, I want to be the best right now.
Yep.
That might not be his plan. It might be, the thing is, like, you can't, like you said, you can't rely on yourself, but you can't ever give up if it doesn't work out the first time. Like, no, keep going. If that's what you want to do, to me, I feel like I was called to race a dirt bike. I was created to race a dirt bike. So I'm never going to give, like, shortchange myself or God. I've been given all these opportunities, and I'm saying that like I've gotten every break imaginable through my career, and that's not the truth, not even close. I used to think, when am I ever going to get a break? When am I ever going to get that ride, you know, a better bike, not get hurt at least once, or not get hurt, you know, in a whole year. But that just wasn't the timing that God had in mind. It was later. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm not tooting my own horn at all, but if I'd have given up, this wouldn't happen.
Yep.
I think there's something so important there too, with, like you guys were saying, that calling and hearing him and being bold with what you hear. You know, for you, it's amazing that it was a call to keep racing and to push through that. I mean, I think back, like, so I raced Supercross in the 16 and 17 seasons, and was plagued with injuries throughout that. And for me, really listening to God and hearing him out was like, man, what am I doing here? My heart's not in it anymore, right? Like, I got to move away from this. And so for me, being bold and courageous was moving in a different direction, and going to university and studying the word and getting into that. But no, I mean, that was the boldest move I had taken. For me, that was way braver than getting back up off the ground from the injuries. But it was because my heart wasn't there anymore, right? I wasn't called back to it. But I couldn't agree with you more. You know, wherever that direction is, when you feel it, be bold enough to, whether it's pick yourself up off the ground and get right back on the same horse, or start walking the other direction and seeking after him. It's powerful.
Yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
With that said, you're running around your yard, hearing kids out there. What's life like off the dirt bike for you? What's going on out at the farm? What's going on out there, man?
Yeah, dude, the last, it's been 2 months now, is, all right, get up in the morning. How are we going to keep them occupied today? Because there's no school, there's no daycare. You go, what are we going to do? We've ridden bikes for the past week. They don't want to ride bikes anymore today, which they probably do, but, you know, maybe we don't want to ride bikes, whatever it is. You can only jump on a trampoline so much. Yeah. And so trying to figure out stuff like that without spending all the money, you know, all your money, trying to buy new toys and everything. It's just, but it's been good. Me and my wife have been trying to switch off, breathe a little bit, you know, because I got a 12-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So they're all, it's not like they can all do something together. They can, but they don't, they're all not into the same thing. Yeah. So it's been interesting and challenging, but fun too. I mean, we've had a lot of good times. So, just I try to ride a couple times a week, because I don't want to be, I don't want to be the guy that, so trying to ride some and still train, and now hopefully try to find some races here soon.
Yeah. What are you trying to look for race wise? You just trying to keep it pretty mellow, or are you trying to get back into it? Or is that just kind of where whatever shows up whenever it shows up, or are you going to try to put a game plan together or something like that?
Right now it's just whatever looks like it would be fun, and then I'll probably be there. Because for right now, Supercross isn't racing, motocross isn't racing. GNCC just started back up. I was one of the first ones of current riders to race with Moto Fiteklub.
Right.
And that was cool for me. Like publicity wise and stuff was great, because nobody else was racing and I was. So I'm like, well, I might as well keep the ball rolling. Let's race something else, because still Supercross isn't back. Moto isn't back. So if I can go race a flat track, and this is a big flat track. It's basically a half mile. I've never done anything that big or that fast. So I might just get smoked this weekend, and I might just load up and leave with my tail tucked after I ride practice because it's way too fast. It looks super scary. Now, my buddies that ride it, that I ride with all the time, they're like, no, it ain't too bad. Like, yeah, but y'all been doing it your whole life. I've not. I'm used to going like 60 miles an hour in fourth gear. They're doing like 80.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then throwing it sideways without any brakes. Like, I don't know, guys. But I don't know. I always wanted to try it, and this is basically the best chance or opportunity for me to try it, to see if I would even have any interest or be any good at the bigger tracks, the half miles and miles. So yeah. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna be strong and courageous.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. With that, like, we saw GNCC this weekend get like 1,800 entries. Like, what's flat track like? Is there going to be a ton of people there ready to race? Like,
I think so. Apparently, all the factory teams are going. They're taking their semis, like everything, because they never even got to start racing this year. The first race, I was supposed to do the first round of AFT, and it got canceled the night before. So everybody's been sitting here going, when do we get to race? And it's not like with flat track. I mean, guys can practice flat track if you have, but all you're going to have is a little TT or a little oval, short track at somebody's house. It's not like you can go out and, go to a big track. I mean, you can. It's just not very prevalent. Most of the flat track riders practice moto. That's all they ever practice. If they do practice on the flat track bikes, it's on a 450, like I ride on a tiny short track. So it's just different. So with this coming back, I guess everybody's going to show up. So like my work's cut out for me for sure. All the best guys are going to be there. But that's why I'm like, I might as well go. If everybody else is going, I might as well go. Be a part of that crowd and get to ride a little bit.
Win that sucker, and who knows, man? You have another new career.
I don't know. I'm not I keep an open mind, man. Like, I'm not going up there thinking I'm going to smoke all those guys, but I'm also not going to go there thinking I'm going to get smoked. I'm going thinking I could get smoked, and I could look like a fool, but I could be good at it. I don't know. I ain't never tried it before, so let me go try and see.
No, I mean, it's wild. Like, gets funny. Like, going into it, it's their domain for sure, but you definitely have a shot. I mean, I think back to like the Hawaiian Supercross, right? Like, lining up at that, being honest, and I don't mean to be rude, like, I didn't expect you to win or really have like a close shot at winning it, right? Like, I think everyone expected Brayton to handle that at that point. That was kind of his area of expertise. You never know when you can pull out a win, man. Like, you just any day. I'm excited to see it.
Hey, never know until you try.
And
go ahead.
Did you know you could beat up Pastrana too? Like, that just came at you like nothing, right? So
in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got the best of him.
Fight at Fight Club.
Yeah. So I think I got the best of him there, but he's going to try to get me back. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, he attacked you, right? Like, you're just
it was
minding
crazy.
your own business.
Well, so when he stood up, I said something like, you're going to have to come take it from me, because I had the belt. And he stood up, and I'm like, in my head for the split second, I thought, oh, that's funny. He's going to act like he's coming at me. And then he didn't stop. He just kept coming. And I'm like, holy crap, he's going to tackle me. And then we almost knocked over the Glover's old 81 or whatever, YZ490. It would have hurt and probably broke the bike.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you never know what you're going to get with that guy.
Yeah. My one of the last things, when we've seen a backflip, right? You're Red Bull guy. You're at you need to go to Travis's house.
Yeah, I know. I did it into the foam pit last year, just on a pit bike. But when we were at Moto Fiteklub, he had the guy scoop out his flip jump to flip the 490, and he's like, "Hey, Sipes, you're gonna do a backflip today," and just nonchalant, like, not do you want to? It's like, "Hey, Sipes, we're gonna do it today," and I go, "Okay," and then we didn't end up doing it. I'm kind of glad. But I do want to do one. If I'm going to be, call myself the general and all this stuff, I'd have to be able to do a backflip. Everybody can do a backflip.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Deegan's little dudes
be hard.
do it, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Deegan's little guy did it.
I mean, it is a 65. Do you play? Yeah. Let's put it on paper right now. When's that going down?
So, well,
I'm going to put pressure on you.
I can't say, but soon I'll be back at Travis's, and I'll do it then.
All right.
Stamp it.
You got a date on it?
I'll have
soon.
Proof.
That like what's soon?
I'll have proof. Just soon. I can't say, but soon, and I'll have proof. I'll video it.
All right.
So, and then I'll share it with you guys.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
If I land it or not, I'll send it to you. I don't care.
Absolutely. Right. Like we want both. We want the whole thing. We want the first one, landed, not landed, unless it's complete chaos, and then just let me know and I'll meet you somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening, man. Your bike control, you got it. I've seen some goons do backflips, right? Like
that's what I'm saying. If they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. How about that? What's that dude, Scott something, that was in X Games doing double backflips, right? Like,
dude, with
that
like
dude
welding gloves on.
That was he couldn't afford a foam pit, but he had a big pile of socks. That was what he for real. I think that was what it was. It was a giant pile of like socks he got from Goodwill, I think, and he would jump into the socks.
But he could double back, dude, with gardening gloves.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's nuts. Yeah. I got this.
Yep.
That's funny. Cool, Ryan. Well, I do appreciate you spending time with us. Before you get off every show, we have a final five questions for our guests that are not your most popular questions that are asked upon interviews and whatnot. So if you don't mind, we're going to jump into those things.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Number one, happiest you've ever been after a race?
After a race, win an ISD.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah, that was like a championship I mean, I guess it is a championship, but that wasn't. I was the best for 30 minutes. I was the best for 6 days in the world. So that was huge for me. So that was probably the happiest I've been after a race.
Yeah, most of our audience is probably moto people, and I don't think they understand like ISDE, what it looks like, what it is, and it's gnarly, man. Like it is.
You'd have to go
awesome
do one
event
to really understand it.
Yeah, even like I went with Timmy Wigan 2 years in a row, just to be his guy to help out, and I didn't understand until I was there. It's like, oh yeah, I know the gist of it, but like it is gnarly. Like all the time, all the changing tires, changing stinking mooses, and dude, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, no doubt.
So cool. Next one, Bigfoot, real or fake?
Fake.
I've seen them.
Maybe not. No, I don't know. I don't even think about stuff like that. But probably fake.
Probably fake.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. If you could tell your teenage self one thing, what would it be?
Don't take yourself too seriously.
Do you feel like you struggled with that as a young dude, like coming in through the ranks?
A little bit. I guess just so don't think you're too good, or don't think you're too bad.
Yeah.
And then don't ride the roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
That's one of the most valuable things I've ever learned, is to never get too high, never get too low.
Yep.
And no matter what, even in the good times, don't get too happy. Not that you don't want to be happy, but don't think you're too good. Don't think you're not worth anything, because neither of them are true.
For sure. Absolutely. Number 4, when you can't fall asleep at night, what do you find yourself doing?
Man, when I can't fall asleep, honestly, sometimes I'll get up and go out my shop and work, because that's half the time the reason why I can't sleep, because I'm thinking about all the things I have to do. So, but one thing that does help is if you don't get up and go work, is get up and make a list of everything that you need to do, because it's all in your head, but you can't focus on you're trying to remember it all. That's why you're going to sleep, or you can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Everything's bouncing around. As soon as you put it on paper, you go, all right, I'm good. I'll remember it tomorrow. I'm fine. I'll get it all done. So make a list or go work.
Yeah.
I work a lot, but it's not good to go work at 2 a.m. I've done it, and it's not good.
You think you do a great job, but then next morning you're like, what the, who was in my garage?
yeah.
All right, last one. You can only ride one moto discipline for the rest of your life. What is it?
Count me out. I'm not doing it.
Really?
No, I don't know, man. Moto. Just
Moto.
pure old school moto. That's, yeah, I would never want to be stuck on just a supercross track, because that does get old. Never want to get stuck on just a flat track. I guess the woods would be okay, but you'd miss the jumping part and the speed part. So
Yeah.
moto's kind of like all around. You get to jump, you get to go fast, you get to have the technical skill. Yeah, you even get to flat track in moto if the track's hard pack enough.
Yeah, out here in California, you get that all the time.
Yeah.
Head out to Elsinore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on, dude.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate your time, man. I know you're a busy man, kids, all that kind of stuff. Appreciate you hanging out with us and giving us a little bit of your time.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Good luck in all the adventures, and I expect a video real soon from Travis's.
Right. Sounds good. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah,
all right,
take
bro.
it easy.
Later, bud.
Thanks for tuning in to RevUp. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any new content. Check us out every Thursday at 5 p.m. And if you're interested in learning more about Panic Rev, head over to panicrev.org or follow us on Instagram. Until next week, I've been John Parkinson. This has been RevUp. Stay healthy and God bless.